Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Just another destination, a free ride highway. I'll go your way if you go my way.
The song that you are currently listening to is called Forever Highway, and it is from the latest album from local band Drunken Hearts, Reckless Ways of Living, which you can stream along with 12 years of Drunken Hearts albums wherever you get your music. Also be sure to check out the band live at the Gold Hill Inn coming up very soon. More details later on in the podcast. This song also features guest appearances from Lindsay Liu, Kyle Tuttle, and father and son musicians Vince and Silas Herman.
Forever. I keep you safe and warm on life's journey. Take the long way right, no need to hurry. Stop and smell the roses, only take the roads that wind. Stumbling through the morning blue, drinking daddy's homemade wine.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. I don't think there are any particular announcements that I have to make before we jump into our interview for this week, but there is something that I just wanted to update you all on before we get started. I had a fantastic time at the Strange Birds Songwriting Showcase on Thursday, October 17th at the Very Nice Brewing Company in Nederland. It was a total blast. Ray Smith and Carrie Miner of Strange Birds were great hosts and also great performers, and I think the night went really well and everybody did a great job. Now, there were a couple of things I announced when I first promoted this showcase that ended up changing by the time the showcase actually happened. First, I thought that Ray and Carrie might perform a set at the very end of the showcase. However, they ended up performing a few songs interspersed throughout the set. They performed their originals, they performed 2 covers. It was really fun to see them on stage. But of course, the main draw was hopefully the songwriters. Now, I promoted initially that there would be 5 of us out of the initial 7 in the group that would be performing that night. In the end, though, there ended up only being 4 of us. And those 4 in order were myself, Nancy M. Farmer, Missy Whaley, and Floyd Grimm. I wanted to give a special shout out to all of these amazing performers as well, because I think everyone did a really great job at showcasing their original material. Heck, Floyd even ended the night by dressing up in a wolf costume, since there is a portion of his song that has to do with howling at the moon. It was a really fun surprise. It was a very small setting, but we appreciate everybody who did end up coming to the Very Nice Brewing Company, and I will be uploading my specific performance to my personal Instagram very, very soon. If you want to learn more about my own musical endeavors, as well as the behind the scenes of the songwriting showcase as a whole, then be sure to check out my interview with our hosts, Carrie Miner and Ray Smith of Strange Birds, which I ended up releasing 2 episodes ago on the Mountaineer Podcast. Okay, that was all I really wanted to say before we got started. So let's just jump right in. Our guest this week, do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
My name is Andrew McConathy from Drunken Hearts.
And I hear that Drunken Hearts will be performing at the Gold Hill Inn very soon.
We sure are. We're going to be there on October 27th, Sunday. I believe it's their employee party, but it's also their Halloween party. So it should be really fun. I don't know if you've been to the Gold Hill Inn. I'm assuming that you have, living where you do. But it gets really rowdy in there, and I think it sells out almost like every show. So definitely get the tickets in advance and put a Halloween costume on. Come on out.
I can confirm that Drunken Hearts will be performing as part of the Halloween extravaganza at the Gold Hill Inn, but we'll get more into that at the end. For now, let's focus on the band. How did Drunken Hearts begin?
I started the band with two of my best buds in Vail, Colorado originally. We were ski bums during the day. I was a ski instructor actually for a little while, a children's ski instructor at Gold Peak. And that whole process of being around the kids and teaching the kids all day, basically just being like a babysitter, ended up driving me nuts. And I was like, I have to be able to find some other way to make a living than doing that. So yeah, we decided to start playing music kind of on the side as a hobby. We'd come home from the bars after skiing powder all day and play some bluegrass. My buddy Derek Shields and I grew up ski racing together in Vail. And then we ended up both going to Middlebury College in Vermont also to ski race, Division I there. And I dropped out after a year or two. But Derek eventually moved back to Vail, where I had moved back to after I dropped out, and living there as a ski instructor. So he was an upright bass player. His family attended Telluride Bluegrass Festival every year, and they had like the Bluegrass family band thing where they would sit around in the living room at night or on Christmas or Thanksgiving and all play music. They weren't all like in official bands or anything like that, but Bluegrass was definitely something that the whole family participated in, whether it was playing or going to Telluride. So that was pretty unique for me, I'm like the only person in my family that plays music. So he was the obvious. We started picking together at night, and then our other buddy, Ted Wells, was a drummer, and we were listening to a lot of bluegrass with drums at that point, you know, even like String Cheese, Leftover Salmon, Yonder. Obviously they don't have drums, but the rock grass, so we were jam grass kind of thing. And so we added Ted. We started practicing in Ted's basement, did some open mic nights in Vail, and started a music festival right around that time called Yarmany Grass at State Bridge Lodge in 2006. And I started hanging out with some of the guys from the String Cheese Incident. I met my guitar instructor, Scott Law, who was in a band with Bill Nershi from String Cheese called Honky Tonk Home Slice, and they kind of became the cornerstone of the festival that I started. And so I started doing lessons with Scott. Eventually I met Railroad Earth through those guys, and Tim Carbone, the fiddle player and multi-instrumentalist producer who would become a mentor of mine, and he would produce two of my records, Live for Today and Wheels of the City. And so from the festival, Drunken Heart got a little like kick in the butt. All of a sudden we were playing with a bunch of guys that we were like way out of our league playing with, you know, had no business playing with, but because I had the festival, we were constantly immersed in music, and, you know, maybe things developed relationship-wise a little quicker than some, just because we were able to, anytime a band would come out to Yarmany, I was picking everybody's brains about my own music and how to involve everyone, I guess. So that's kind of how it all started in Vail. And then it was, I think the festival kind of came first, if I recall. And then I realized I had gone to Middlebury for creative writing as well as skiing and soccer. And I kind of realized, oh man, I can apply my writing education to songs. I originally thought I wanted to be an author at one point in college, but it just kind of made more sense all of a sudden when I was applying it to these songs and creating songs. So started doing that, started recording albums, and our first album came out in 2012, Live for Today, that Carbone produced. And unfortunately, Ted, whom I started the band with originally, Ted passed away in 2014. And right before then, I believe the year before that, we had replaced Derek with an electric bass player because we were trying to really just fatten out the sound and didn't necessarily, you know, we've always been fighting this. Like, are we bluegrass? Are we not bluegrass? Like, what are we? And we wanted to try to get away from bluegrass. And so at that point, Ted and Derek were both out of the picture, and the lineup has changed every like 5 years since then, with the most recent change coming during COVID, when half of the band that replaced Ted and Derek moved away and started families, one in Nashville, one in Burlington, Vermont. So COVID just kind of shuffled everything up for us, as it did for pretty much everybody, especially musicians. And we're all great friends still. I text with all my former bandmates constantly and talk to them on the phone all the time. So it's just been part of the evolution of the whole thing. But most recently, we added Eric Lowe on drums in March of 2023 and Drew Packard on bass about a year before that. And Tyler Adams and James Dunn joined the band in the summer of 2020, basically right when the band started playing again after the lockdown. And so we recorded a whole album called Reckless Ways of Living that we did in Nashville with producer Dave Pahanish. That came out June 2nd, 2023. We did the release party at Meow Wolf in Denver, Convergent Station, which was awesome. Dave flew out. We had special guest Silas Herman, and Silas plays a lot on the record. I think he's on 3 or 4 tunes. His dad, Vince, and I wrote one of the songs called 100 Proof. We went out to his house outside of Nashville and fired up some Colorado weed in his kitchen and wrote that song in like an hour or something, along with Dave Pahanish, the producer. And Vince actually plays bass on Forever Highway, believe it or not, and he also plays washboard and kazoo on Popcorn and Percocets. So Vince obviously does not live in Ned anymore, but the mayor of Netherlands, I believe is what they call him up there. And so, yeah, that album is great. Silas is on it, Vince is on it, and then so are all of the guys currently in the band. So it's taken a minute to kind of reset everything after COVID and get the wheels back on and straighten, get the ship back on course. But we added a new manager about 6 months ago and a new agent about a year ago. So it seems to be picking up for us, which is great to see, obviously. Sorry, that was a long, drawn-out explanation, but I could say it in one sentence, but you wouldn't hear any of the story. So,
a couple other details that I wanted to add after doing some research on some of the things that Andrew ended up talking about here. As Andrew mentioned, his music festival is now called Yarmany Grass, but it was originally called the Yarmany Music Festival, and it was founded in 2006, and it was named directly after the ranch that his parents owned. They went on a brief hiatus in 2019, but they came back with their 15th celebration in June 2024. Also adding to the story of the current lineup of the band, the official bio on the Drunken Hearts website, which I will promote near the end of the interview, mentions that when the lineup started splitting up again around COVID, McConathy started doubting his ability to pursue a career in music after all this time. He started working as a security guard at a hemp farm in Longmont, and during that time, he found a renewed sense of faith in his abilities as a musician and a songwriter. And that's why we have the lineup that we have today. Andrew's already shouted out all of the members, but I wanted to make sure I reiterated the lineup and mentioned all of their roles in the band. Of course, there's Andrew McConathy on acoustic guitar and vocals. James Dunn provides electric guitar and vocals. Drew Packard provides bass and vocals. Tyler Adams provides piano, organ, and vocals, and Eric Lowe plays drums and percussion. So I'm curious, where did the name Drunken Hearts come from?
Well, someone asked me this recently, and my friend I asked Derek about it. He wasn't sure if this was actually what we did or not, which is funny because I can't really remember if this happened or not either, but for some reason we recall it being something like we opened a dictionary and pointed to some words, and it was Drunken Hearted Man or something, the Allman Brothers song. And so we were like, oh, that's a cool concept. And then I think Robert Johnson had a song called Drunken Hearted Boy. Now I might have those backwards. I think I do. Allman Brothers is Drunken Hearted Boy. Robert Johnson is Drunken Hearted Man, I think. And so we were like, well, that's kind of cool. Allman Brothers, if you hear us now, James definitely has an Allman Brothers thing going on with slide guitar. And they've always been one of my favorite bands. Back then, we were really acoustic, so it was a weird choice. But I think the thing that sold us the most was Robert Johnson selling his soul, trading his soul for the ability to play the guitar at the crossroads. That whole image is what I was attracted to about the name. So we truncated it, The Drunken Hearts, instead of Drunken Hearted Man or whatever. And I think we actually started with Andrew McConathy and The Drunken Hearts, and then we found that that was really too long for any festival promoter to put on their poster. So then we shortened it to The Drunken Hearts. And then at one point during the pandemic, when I was kind of the only one left, and I was really feeling like I was hiring, like these people weren't necessarily in the band, but they were just like playing the show with me, whoever was available kind of thing, I decided to change it back to Andrew McConathy and the Drunken Hearts, and then about 6 months after that, truncated it all down to Drunken Hearts, and here we are. But yeah, whether or not any of that story I just told is true is who knows. The Grateful Dead got their name like that. They opened a dictionary and just randomly pointed to something, and it was Grateful Dead. It's like a nod to the Day of the Dead, kind of. The traveler is on the journey. He finds the dead body on the side of the road. I think he puts a coin over its eyes or something so it can transition into the river Styx and the other world, something like that. I think that's what Grateful Dead means. It's like a referral to a story, basically. But anyways, I digress. So yeah, something like that.
I just wanted to confirm Andrew's correction of what he said. Drunken Hearted Man is the song by Robert Johnson, and Drunken Hearted Boy is the song by the Allman Brothers. By the way, in case you're curious about what Andrew was talking about with Robert Johnson selling his soul to the devil in exchange for mastery of his music, there's an article by Rolf Potts, who is a travel writer online, that is actually called Robert Johnson Sold His Soul to the Devil in Rosedale, Mississippi, where you can read a quote-unquote vision as told by Henry Goodman of the entire account. It is definitely bizarre. Also, to confirm Andrew's account of how the Grateful Dead got their name, Jerry Garcia apparently picked up an old Britannica World Language Dictionary and found the definition of the Grateful Dead, which was the soul of a dead person or his angel showing gratitude to someone who, as an act of charity, arranged their burial. This account, by the way, was told by fellow Grateful Dead band member Phil Lesh. And I assume since you've been the primary member over all of this time, you also serve as the primary songwriter?
Yeah, that's been the case kind of since the beginning. I've done certainly some co-writing with some of the band members over the years, but for the most part, I'm definitely the person bringing the lyrics and the chords and everything, and then the guys generally add all the bells and whistles and parts and melodies and things like that. I mean, I'll have a melody, I guess, but... And then this most recent record, Reckless Ways of Living, I co-wrote all the songs with Dave Pahanish, the producer, who he has written songs. He's got 4 #1 Billboard hits under his belt, I think, that he wrote. One for Toby Keith, one for Tim McGraw, one for Jimmy Wayne, and one for... What's that guy's name? Who sings Without You? Can't kill me, but we can let it slide. Keith Urban. So there's something about writing with another person or even 2 other people that you know you're going to be bringing your strongest stuff, because it's going to have to get filtered through 2 other people to sign off on whatever it is you just came up with. So there's something about writing with in a group that I really enjoy. If it's a really personal song or something, it might be something that I'll sit down with myself and focus on. But I really loved writing with Vince, writing with Dave. It was super easy. I wrote another song called Never Say Goodbye, the first song on the album. I went out to the String Cheese Incident rehearsal space in Louisville, and I wrote that one with Keith Mosley, the bass player, who's a friend of mine and a hero of mine. So we kind of we sprinkled in the Leftover Salmon and the String Cheese Incident, a little songwriting from those guys on the new album, which is great because they were very, very influential for me growing up and just in my whole music evolution, I guess. But I mean, I think now we started as a bluegrass, jamgrass, that kind of thing. We had banjo at one point, we had fiddle at one point, and we had steel guitar. And now it just feels kind of like a country rock band, where with keys, electric guitar, electric bass, drums, and myself on acoustic guitar, we can kind of hit all the genres and tones and paint the picture that we want from start to finish with this instrumentation. So really, really stoked. I love playing music with these guys, and I think the band has evolved a lot, and I think it sounds the best now that it ever has. So, but it's definitely more on the country side of things from where it started. But some jam, some bluegrass, some rock and roll, kind of all the feels.
I wanted to quickly mention the #1 hits that Dave was involved in co-writing. Even though 2 of his songs were recorded by Tim McGraw for McGraw's 2012 album Emotional Traffic, they did not reach #1. However, the other 3 artists did end up having songs hit #1 on the country music Billboard charts. And those songs are Without You by Keith Urban, Do You Believe Me Now by Jimmy Wayne, and American Ride by Toby Keith. So the question that I usually ask around this time is, what sticks out to you about the songwriting process? But the answer that Andrew gave ended up being to what I think is a more interesting question in this context. And that question is, what have you taken away from songwriting over the years? What have you honed in on when it comes to your songwriting process? And what would you tell others about how to focus on their songwriting if they want to pursue it?
Well, when you quote-unquote finish a song, I hope that you actually are finished with it, because if you record it and put it out there, it's going to be out there forever unless you decide to take it down, which I've taken down some music before. It's all good, but just write with intent. Sometimes I'll just kind of not do that and I'll end up in a different spot than where I wanted to go. So it's good to remind yourself, like, what am I trying to say throughout the piece? I don't know. That's something that sometimes you're just like going with a rhyme or something, or a rhyme scheme, and then you realize, well, this has nothing to do with the line above it. It just happens to rhyme. So don't do that. But, I do write kind of stream of conscious as well. Jack Kerouac was a huge influence on me as a writer, and a lot of my songs reference Kerouac. Wheels of the City, Happy, Never Say Goodbye. I have several. Dean Moriarty's Blues. So it's something that I try to keep in mind, but also you want to let it flow. So it's a little bit of stream of consciousness with a little bit of direction, something like that. Not just like whatever comes to me, I'm going to write down.
And over the years, what have been some of your favorite parts about being able to perform live, especially with a group of musicians like this?
Well, for me, especially with these guys and the players at the level that they are, they're all just really, 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 really good listeners, and they don't make mistakes very often. So for me, I try to just keep my head down, close my eyes, and try not to f*** up, and strum the chords, don't forget the words, try not to do any fancy stuff, and drive the train. Someone's got to be captain of the ship and make sure that you're steering it in the right direction and avoiding the road bumps and hitting the jumps, catching air, but also applying the brakes here and there. And that's what I do out there. And I don't want to step on anybody's toes because they're all very communicative in how they play and call and response. It's great for me as someone who failed Intro to Music Theory at Middlebury College. It's the only F I've ever gotten in my entire life, but it's good for me to be up there with these guys who really know what they're doing, and I'm hanging on for the ride, or at least that's kind of what it feels like.
And is there anything that you hope audience members will be able to take away from your shows when they come and see you?
Well, we're just trying to have a good time. We want to have fun. We want you to have fun. It says drunken in the name, but it's not necessarily a reference to alcohol. For me, it's kind of like a state of being, and it's like a description, not like a noun. I don't know if that makes sense. But, we want you to listen and enjoy the songs, but if you don't like it, you can leave too. It's all good. Music is one of those things that doesn't communicate always to everybody, and that's what makes it so special. So it could be your cup of tea. It might not be your cup of tea. It's hard for me to say, but we certainly enjoy the music that we're playing. And I was having a conversation with my friend Justin about this the other day. Someone asked us, we asked this guy what kind of music he listened to, and he said, well, not that country bluegrass bullshit that you guys play. And he's one of our friends at a local brewery. And so he said it very lightheartedly. And we were like, well, what are you into? And he was like, EDM, electronic, raves and all that. And we were like, whoa, really? And then my friend Justin said, hey man, I don't really have a choice in this matter. I open my mouth and this is what comes out. Someone's art is their art. It's not, you can certainly have some control over what you're putting out there, but there's a reason why you sound like you. And art isn't transferable. So one man's gold is another man's garbage, and vice versa. So it's an interesting art form for sure. You're really putting it out there, and you're either getting it back or you're not. And it's really awesome when you're getting it back. So that's what we're going for, is the circle between the audience and the band, and it's all supposed to be connected. We can feel it. You can feel that we can feel you, and the whole thing just evolves together. Like fingers on a hand kind of thing. We are certainly supposed to be doing that as a band, but there's an interconnectivity there with the audience for sure that we're trying to get. And we can't do it without you guys. That's kind of the difference between a good show and a bad show. Or, how about a great show and a decent show? Is a decent show, it could be sold out, but if everyone's sitting down and talking to each other and not paying attention, if they were all standing up, dancing their asses off, listening, that's a great show. So there's sit-down rooms and there's bar. We play kind of all across we play a lot of bars, play breweries, get to play some theaters. But the audience's engagement level varies from show to show, and we're looking for engagement, and that's what we hope to accomplish at our shows.
Well, I don't know. Is there anything else in general that you want to add or just make sure people know?
No, I think I mentioned I will be at Eldora on on December 4th, playing solo in the lodge up there. I think it's 12 to 3, I believe. And then I do believe we have another performance up there as a full band, but I can't announce it yet, unfortunately. But you guys stay tuned for another announcement off of the Peak to Peak in your area up there this winter. Oh, and we are going to drop a new single here in the next month. I start to fly to Nashville to finish it, but I'm doing that in 2 weeks. And then, yeah, we'll be releasing a new song, I think, sometime at the beginning to middle of November.
To clarify the timeline of that 2 weeks now, this interview was recorded on October 8th, 2024. So as of the release of this podcast episode, that 2 weeks has now essentially become 1 week. Either way, hopefully there will be a new single at the beginning of November. Thank you so much to Andrew for coming on board and joining us for the podcast. You can see his band Drunken Hearts performing live at the Gold Hill Inn, located at 401 Main Street in Gold Hill on Sunday, October 27th, 2024, starting at 8 p.m. I originally wrote it as 7 p.m., but it looks like that time on the Gold Hill Inn website is 8 p.m. As Andrew mentioned at the beginning of this interview, this is a special Halloween dance party and costume contest at the Gold Hill Inn. In fact, it is Volume 3 of Go to Hell Inn. The normal bar menu will not be served at the Gold Hill Inn due to the party, but you can still go to an awesome costume contest, dance party, and live performance from Drunken Hearts at the Gold Hill Inn on that particular date. If you want to get tickets to the event in advance, which are $20 in advance, then be sure to go to the link that is in the event description at goldhillinn.com/music. Meanwhile, if you want to hear more from Drunken Hearts before or after they perform live, then you can stream their releases over the last 12 years wherever you get your music. And you can find their social media and learn more about them as a band by going to their website at thedrunkenhearts.com. And as a bonus promotion, as Andrew mentioned, he'll be performing at Eldora, 2861 Eldora Ski Road in Netherlands, on his own on Wednesday, December 4th, 2024, starting at noon. And now, for this week's Music Mentions. Head to the Gold Hill Inn, located at 401 Main Street in Gold Hill on Friday, October 25th, starting at 8 p.m. to see Bear Hat performing live. Then head back there on Saturday, October 26th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Covenhoven performing live. And finally, as mentioned in this episode, be sure to head there on Sunday, October 27th, starting at 8 p.m., not 7 p.m., but at 8 p.m. to see Drunken Hearts performing live at the third volume of Go to Hell Inn, the Halloween dance party and costume contest at the Gold Hill Inn. Head to the Gold Hill General Store, located at 531 Main Street in Gold Hill, on Friday, October 25th, starting at 6:30 p.m. to see How About No performing live. Then head there on Saturday, October 26th, starting at 7 p.m. to see 100 Pound House Cat performing live. And finally, head there on Sunday, October 27th, starting at 2 p.m. to see Ella Wren performing live. Unfortunately, these will likely be podcast-exclusive announcements because I did not update the music schedule accordingly, but Howlin' Wind Brewing and Blending at 51A Main Street in Rollinsville has a weekend packed with music. Be sure to head there on Friday, October 25th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Moonstone Quill performing live, on Saturday, October 26th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Fast Floyd performing live, and on Sunday, October 27th, starting at 4 p.m. for an open pick. Head to the Jamestown Mercantile, located at 108 Main Street in Jamestown on Wednesday, October 23rd, starting at 5 p.m. for an open mic night, on Thursday, October 24th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Ethan J. Perry performing live, and on Friday, October 25th, starting at 7 p.m. to see Rachie and the Tramps performing live. Head to Knotted Root Brewing, located at 250 North Caribou Street in Netherlands, every Friday at 7 p.m. for DJ nights, every second Friday at 7:30 p.m. for reggae DJ nights, and every Sunday at 5 p.m. for jazz Sundays. Head to the Caribou Room, located at 55 Indian Peaks Drive in Netherlands on Saturday, October 26th for the Masquerade Ball, featuring Banshee Tree with High Step Society. Doors open and dinner starts at 7 p.m., and the show starts at 8 p.m. And finally, pick your preference. If you want to head to Gilpin County, then be sure to head to the very nice brewing company location at 180 Jankowski Drive in Blackhawk on Saturday, October 26th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Reservoir Fog performing live. If you want to head to Netherland, then be sure to head to 20 East Lakeview Drive, number 112 in the Caribou Village Shopping Center on Friday, October 25th, starting at 6 p.m. for a potluck featuring Eric Stone, and on Saturday, October 26th, starting at 5 p.m. to see Mountain Duo performing live. Did we miss you? Or your performance? Do you want to submit your music listing in the Peak to Peak area? Do you have updates to your business or to your performances? Then please call 303-810-5409 or email info@themountaineer.com or media@themountaineer.com to be included in the next print edition or the next podcast of The Mountain Ear. Thank you so much to everybody who tuned in to this week's Music of the Mountains, Where to Be and What to See, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to share it around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com or share the homepage of our main website at the mtnear.com and tell them to scroll down near to the bottom. From there, they can view all of our episodes and check out whichever one they want to. Also, if you are in the area and you want to promote something, if you have a segment that you want to contribute to the podcast, you're coming to the area and you want to promote something, or you have advertising that you want to share with us and have us promote on the podcast, then be sure to email me at media@themountaineer.com and we'll get something sorted for you. Be sure to tune in on Monday for our regularly scheduled Mountain Tales edition of the Mountaineer Podcast. I will see you guys then. Have a great rest of your day.
One, two, three, 4, 2. I seem to recognize your face, haunting, familiar yet I can't seem to place it. Cannot find the candle of thought.
The song that you are currently listening to is the standard version of Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town, originally written by Eddie Vedder, originally performed by his band Pearl Jam, and covered here by the band Drunken Hearts, also featuring Andy Thorne, Lindsay Lou, and Silas Herman. You can stream this Pearl Jam cover along with plenty of other Drunken Hearts releases wherever you get your music. There are 2 versions of this cover available, a standard version that you are listening to now, and an extended version. Drunken Hearts will be performing at the Gold Hill Inn very soon for Volume 3 of the Go to Hell Inn Halloween Party. That event will take place on October 27th, 2024, starting at 8 p.m. To learn more about the band and check out their social media, be sure to head to their website at thedrunkenhearts.com.
It's hard when you're stuck upon the shelf. I changed by not changing at all. Small town predicts my fate. Perhaps that's what no one wants to see. I just want to scream hello. Oh my God, it's been so long. Never dreamed you'd return.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local Peak to Peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.